Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving into something that literally affects every single one of us, every single night, but we're looking at it from a totally unexpected angle. We are going to be traveling from the actual physical iron pumping through our microscopic blood vessels all the way to the spiritual evolution of the human spine. Based on a really thought-provoking talk by Sadhguru, we're going to blend some tangible biology with some pretty profound metaphysics. But hey, before we get into all the cosmic alignments and the big picture stuff, let me just ask you a super grounded practical question. Have you ever wondered if the actual physical direction your head points when you lay down in bed at night could be dangerous? I know, it sounds kind of wild, doesn't it? Like, is there actually a deadly direction to sleep? Well, let's just jump right into it. Because according to the source material we're exploring today, the answer is a massive, resounding yes. The speaker puts it incredibly bluntly. They say, every day you're sleeping, put your head to the north, you are asking for trouble. And this isn't just presented as some old myth or bad feng shui. The source lays out very specific, literal, geographical, and physiological rules. We're going to unpack all of that today to understand exactly why they're making this claim. Okay, here's our agenda. First, the danger of true north. Second, blood, iron, and gravity. Third, a deathbed reflection. And finally, the power of Mahashivratri. Section 1. The danger of true north. Earth's planetary forces. To really get what the speaker is arguing about sleep, we kind of have to zoom out to a global scale first. We all know the Earth has a North Pole and a South Pole, right? And they act as these massive magnetic centers. But here is the key premise from our source. This magnetic pole from the North Pole is so intensely powerful that over geological time, it is literally pulling whole continents slowly upward. The argument they make is actually quite simple, but it's profound. If this invisible magnetic force is strong enough to physically drag entire massive land masses across the globe, it is definitely strong enough to interact with our tiny, fragile human bodies. Section 2. Blood, iron, and gravity. Your internal plumbing. Okay, so we're zooming in from those massive shifting continents straight into your body's cardiovascular system. Take a look at that fraction on the screen, 3/4. The source asks us to stop for a second and just think about our actual physical design. Why is the human heart, our main vital pumping station, placed 3/4 of the way up our body instead of right in the middle? Well, the speaker explains that this evolutionary placement is all about gravity. It is significantly harder to pump liquids up against gravity than it is to pump them downward. So your heart is constantly calculating and working with a specific, immense amount of force just to push blood upward against that gravitational resistance so it can actually reach your brain. And here is exactly where the biological danger supposedly lies. The source describes the blood vessels traveling downward through your body as large pipes. Pretty sturdy. But the vessels going up into your brain, those are incredibly fine. We're talking microscopic, literally hair-like. The whole system in the brain is so incredibly delicate that the speaker warns if even one extra drop of blood is forced into those microscopic vessels, you're looking at hemorrhages or strokes. And remember, what is a really key heavy ingredient floating around inside our blood? Iron. So what happens when you finally crash and lay down at the end of a long day? When you lay perfectly horizontal, you suddenly remove that gravitational resistance your heart was fighting against all day. Now, the source argues, if you place your head facing true north in this horizontal state, that massive global magnetic pole we talked about earlier, it starts acting on the iron in your blood, slowly drawing it towards your brain. Depending on how robust your system is, the speaker lists a sliding scale of consequences. You might just get some disturbed sleep, maybe have vivid nightmares, or just act kind of funny the next day because of the excess circulation. But if your biological system is older or frail, the source explicitly cautions that this extra pressure could lead to strokes or literally even death in your sleep over time. Right, so how do you avoid this magnetic danger entirely? The source lays out some really specific geographical rules based on which hemisphere you're sleeping in. If you are in the northern hemisphere, the golden rule is never point your head north. East is considered the absolute best direction for sleep, while south and west are totally acceptable alternatives. But if you travel to the southern hemisphere, say you're taking a trip to South America or Australia, the magnetic dynamics completely flip. Down there, you must absolutely avoid pointing your head south, making north an acceptable direction. Section 3. A deathbed reflection. Detaching for better sleep. Now, the source points out that how you prepare your mind is just as absolutely crucial as where you point your compass. Let's actually try this together. Imagine sitting on your bed tonight and pretend it's your deathbed. You have literally 1 minute left to live. Look back at your last 24 hours. Was it actually worthwhile? Now, take your last 3 awake minutes to consciously detach. Just put aside the whole shebang, your possessions, your relationships, even your physical body. The goal here is to go to sleep simply as life, totally unburdened by your worldly identity as a man, a woman, a boss, or a parent. It's treating sleep as this profound form of daily detachment. Now, you might be wondering, why go through this kind of morbid-sounding exercise every night? Well, the speaker makes a massive promise about this practice. To quote the source directly, if you sleep in that condition, you will wake up with much more light, with much more energy, with much more possibilities than you have imagined possible. By consciously dropping all your worldly baggage before your head hits the pillow, the source claims you're allowing your system to truly, deeply recharge, without all that psychological and emotional weight you've been dragging around all day. Section 4. The Power of Mahashivratri, the Vertical Spine. Okay, let's zoom all the way out from your bedroom back to the cosmos to look at this event known as Mahashivratri. In the yogic tradition cited by our source, this translates to the Great Night of Shiva. It's a lunar festival that happens in February or March. And what makes this specific night so vital, according to the speaker, is that it marks a very real, natural planetary upsurge of energy within the human system in the Northern Hemisphere. The source states that literally every life form experiences this profound energetic surge on this one specific night. So the really crucial point here is the evolutionary contrast the source draws. We just spent a bunch of time talking about horizontal sleep, which obviously is an absolute biological necessity for daily rest, even though it removes the body from that protective gravitational resistance we mentioned. But the speaker contrasts this horizontal resting state with the monumental evolutionary triumph of the vertical spine. According to the source, moving from invertebrates to vertebrates was a huge step in Earth's history for sure. But the true leap, the specific leap that actually allowed for advanced brain development in humans, was moving from a horizontal position to an erect, vertical posture. Because of this amazing evolutionary triumph, the speaker heavily recommends avoiding sleep entirely on the night of Mahashivratri. Actually, scratch that. It's not just avoiding sleep, it's actively keeping your spine completely erect and vertical all night long so you can optimally tap into that natural upsurge of planetary energies. And the source makes a huge point to emphasize that this practice isn't just for, monks meditating in a cave. Keeping an erect spine on this night offers immense benefits to people on a dedicated spiritual path, absolutely, but it also offers really significant, tangible benefits for everyday people and family situations, and it's even highly beneficial for purely ambitious folks striving for worldly success. In the yogic tradition, this vertical stillness represents our ultimate evolutionary potential. The source brings up the concept of the third eye. Now, this isn't a literal eye on your forehead, but rather a dimension of perception that exists totally beyond physical realities and our basic 5 senses. According to the speaker, this much deeper dimension of perception finally blossomed for Shiva only when he achieved a state of absolute vertical stillness. So staying awake, completely alert, and vertically aligned on this great night is said to help facilitate your very own journey toward opening that deeper dimension of perception within yourself. Wow, we have covered a tremendous amount of ground in this explainer today. We've gone from the very real iron traveling through tiny hair-like vessels in your brain, straight up to the massive planetary magnetic pull of the North Pole, and finally to the evolutionary triumph of simply sitting upright. It really all comes down to how we position ourselves in the world, right? Both physically in our beds and consciously in our minds. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought based on the material we unpacked today. Tonight, when you turn off the lights, will you just sleep, or will you align yourself?